Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome back to Runar. This is the Warchest slash stretch goal video. So the Warchest is a big giant brown box, which contains a bunch of game upgrades that are not necessary. They're like wooden components, neoprene playmats, and stuff like that. But they're cool to have, so we're going to look at those. But inside there, you'll also get this white box, which is the stretch goal box. Which you can get separately as well. So this was offered through their, as a separate thing for some people that didn't want all the upgraded stuff as well. So this has 7 brand new heroes, 3 brand new enemies, plus some other couple of cards to go with the game. So not like a huge, massive, like amount of stretch goals and content you generally, I shouldn't say generally, but you get from some other games, like some of the CMON games. But still, it's pretty cool because we get a couple of new characters. Finishes off some of our other clans. So if you've been watching all the previous videos for the set, the Jarl expansion that came out, which gives you clan leaders. Also added in the ability to play a 5-6 player game. But it added 2 new clans. So besides the initial 4, which are the Boar, Bear, Walrus, and Deer, they added in the Wolf and Crow clans. So in those, though, the Crow doesn't actually have any members that are directly below it, but the Deer had 3 extra members, which are all in this box here. And, again, you can always play mix and match. However, that doesn't make that big of a difference. And then the Hell expansion, we are introduced to 3 mystical or magical type creatures or characters from the Northern Lodge. And we have Elfrin in here, who's like the mastermind behind everything, who's also Jukas, if you know the lore of the Nova EX Chronicle world from DEI and Sing Tempor, and he's been in Black Rose Wars and Nova EX. He's touched everything. And I think he's been in pretty much every game. So you get him, and you also get Andromeda in this set too. Plus you get some other characters. Then again, we have 3 new enemies. We actually have a rank 2, a rank 3, which is the leader. Then we have a special kind of like boss, which there's only one of. So like the other ones usually have multiple versions of that, or multiple minions or figures. This only has a couple. I'm going to do is look at the upgrade stuff first really quick, because it won't take nearly as long as going through the rest. So I'll move this off to the side. So in our big war chest box, we have a set of playmats here. So we have our 6 different factions or warbands. We have some other tokens down here. So down here in the tokens, we have wooden tokens. I don't have the other ones in comparison with me, because they're in a bag. But this is just wooden shield tokens. So they replace your regular tokens. They're just made of wood. Double-sided pictures on them, which are really cool. Just kind of scoot this so you can look at them a little bit better. So they're definitely going to be thicker than a regular token, but otherwise they're going to be the same, like, circle size. Again, just kind of neat deal, especially for something, like, anytime you have tokens in games that you have to pick up or move around and, like, replace repeatedly, having an acrylic or a wooden token are kind of nice, like a meeple type thing, because they're just easier to grab. Then we also have the little bag for all of our placement tokens. So these are going to have our different diamonds on there for your hero 1, 2, or 3. And it's just in these 6 different colors. And on the back, of course, they have just the blank or the hero symbol. So that way you know if you only have to play them face down. Again, are these absolutely necessary? No, but since you do have to pick these up and move them occasionally, it's not a bad little extra thing to have. One, I guess it's kind of an odd thing to say upside, is the way the storage is for the game is there's not like a dedicated spot that fits exactly these tokens. So that way buying the wooden upgrades, you would be like, oh, now I don't have room for them because they're not going to fit in the same little slot. And also it's kind of odd to say a good thing, because I like when games have dedicated slots for tokens versus just dumping them into like a big empty pit or a tray. But at least on here is, I guess, if you're going to give me brand new tokens, I don't have to worry about now I have to dump them somewhere else and I have that spot sitting empty. We're also going to get wooden tokens for the clan point trackers, just to keep track of your VIP points. So one for each one, plus the Nemesis. And on the back side, if you ever get over 20 points, it shows that on there as well. So pretty cool. And then we have, these are brand new ones. So these go with the brand new playmats. These are to keep track of where your event markers are going for when you're building your base. And there's the 1, 2, 3 in the flame. So base level 1, base 2, base 3, and then you build your flame. And why do we need these? Because on the updated playmat, they don't have them listed. Because previously you have the Destiny board. In the other games, the core game has has two different ones. There's a 1 and 2 player, and then a 3 and 4 player side. And then we have the expansion that has a 5, 6 player side. So they're all going to have these different areas on the board based on how many players you have in the game. So this actually gives you then the thing, so that way if you're playing on here, you have one Destiny board built into your playmat, and you can just move these wherever you need for how many players you're playing. So it's kind of a neat idea. Then you don't have to have a bunch of different mats all the time. Finally, we did get a brand new first player marker. And these are kind of cool to get. This is a giant metal, like Thor hammer. Like their version of Mjolnir. Always neat. I guess if you're going to have it's always one of them things I don't really care. I'm not really a huge, I need to have a first player marker, a first turn marker. Myself, I'm not really someone that cares about passing it around the table that much. Because I'm pretty good at remembering, it's my turn, then it's your turn, then it's your turn. And, round ends, and we start with the next person. But, if you're going to have one, and you're going to have upgrades, why not have a really cool looking one? So this is a big, giant metal hammer. So that was all of those components. So yeah, then on here it's just going to show we have all our different components there. We have our 6 playmats, our big giant neoprene playmat, which actually comes in a separate box. But I think you can then store it in here if you want. It just came shipped separately. But then this is showing, on the Destiny board, it's built into the playmat, which we'll look at in a moment, if you're playing each game, where you're going to put those different tokens at. So, you're going to put, if you're playing a 1-player game, you put them there. 2-player, you can see each one, you're going to have Destiny cards that are filling up the board. Just a very, very nice that it has those, and you can kind of put them in different orders. Plus, it's also, I think, a cool idea if you want to start mixing and matching your stuff. Because then it gives you the option to set where you want to have your what am I thinking of? Your not only by doing this, by having a blank thing, you can set your end game different for each thing. So you could play a 2-player game and not put these cards down and not have extra cards laying down, and you could have a longer game. You could separate the gaps between the borders. You could always potentially have them all start way earlier, so that way you're activating, so you don't have to build less towers. If you want less focus on the towers to build, you could have that, or you could have them longer and be you don't gain any benefits until you get right to the end. You can move, if you're playing a 4-player game, you can move all your towers to way back here. And then you don't get any of these bonuses unless you get way to the end. And you really have to build up a lot of stuff to gain a bunch of bonuses. Versus, if you only have half your tower built, you still get a couple. So you can kind of adjust it for your own customizable games if you would like. I just like the idea of that. Cool. So let's take a look at that playmat. Move my stretch goal box again. And drop all these tokens back in the box. Yes, you have the big giant Runar playmat. And it's all a big neoprene playmat, which a lot of people like. So the only, it's always one of those up, down, side type things, I guess, for people is, obviously a big giant playmat like this is going to take up a little bit more room, than a little board. But the difference is in that one, if you're playing up to 6 players, you had to have 2 boards. This probably doesn't take up that much more room, overall. And then, yeah, so here we go. So we're going to kind of back up here. So yeah, here's our board. So we have the Nemesis board already built into the side. On the other side, we have the Destiny board. And then we have our different play areas. So this one's built more for, this is the 5-6 player board. And I think that's the only other thing you're going to end up with. The difference is you're not going to have the things covering up the spaces. Because the other ones, we had a board that was for a 2 to 4 player game or a 3 to 5 player game. Or, so a different, the 3-player game had a different setup because you had one thing in the middle. So this, you just have to kind of like play these a little bit differently. But yeah, if we look at some of the things on here, so yeah, you have all your different numbers lined up. So it says if you're playing a 2, 4, or 6-player game, it wants you to use this side because then you have all the exact even stuff. And if we look at this one, this side's for your 1, 3, and 5-player game. So if you're playing a 3-player game, you're just gonna have to like remember, you're using this spot and then these 2 spots here, and then maybe you have to place something on the board to block off the other ones. So you really shouldn't have to, because once you start placing stuff on the board, once you do game setup, if you're playing a 3-player game, you're gonna have something in these 4 squares. You won't have anything in these 2. It should be easy enough to remember, hey, there's nothing in those spots. There's no crystals. There's no... Because you're always going to have, like, your stone towers, or your statues, or your... Some crystals or some cubes, or there's going to be something in each area. There's probably never going to be a time you're ever going to have an entire area completely cleaned out. Even if, like, you're playing in this area and you're playing the mode where you collected all your crystals, you destroyed all the stones, you push the effigies out, but you never destroy your base stone, so that base stone's always going to be there. But even if you had some weird game over, you could destroy the base, there'd probably never be a time when you would destroy, like, both of these and then have to forget where your zone went. And if you ever did destroy everything in the entire zone, there'd be no reason to go back in there, so I can't see why you would step in there. So then we flip to the other side, and we have this map. So yeah, pretty cool. The only other downside I would say to this, the 2 downsides, I guess, is 1, if you don't like it folded like this and you rather roll it, it might take a little bit more room to find somewhere to store it then, versus folding it, you might be able to fit it back in the box. And 2 is because with the regular, I don't know if they're cardboard, the solid boards we got, you had 4 different pictures. Here you're only getting 2. Again, very minor because you're not really playing the game for the pictures on the board because they don't do anything different. Like here we have a giant lake. There's no penalty for having to be on the lake. You guys can walk right over this. You're just assuming it's a frozen lake anyhow because it's the north. But yeah, so that's pretty cool there. We do have this big giant playmat. And then we have the little tiny ones here for each individual warband. And now this adds a couple of cool things to the game. Because it's not just the little kind of like circular thing we had, which has a spot for your action deck, your cards, your damage cards, all that. It's kind of neat to want these all across instead of on the side as well. We have a spot for our shards. It kind of lays them out a little bit differently. But on this side, we also have a spot for each one of our character cards. And if they have an equipment listed, So, like, just as an example here, if I grab Afring, we have him here, and then you have a spot for your shield tokens to kind of sit down there. If you have an equipment card, like let's say he had this artifact, you could put this kind of there. And also the way they're designed, it's a neat way it works because now the picture's still behind it, so you can still read it. They have little extra divots or holes in here built up for the cubes. Which, let me grab a cube here quick. I have cubes from a different game, but they should still work. But yeah, so then if they have personal cubes, they kind of get slotted in there instead of just sitting on the board. And then we have the same thing down here for your own personal ones. They can get slotted in here. I'm not sure why the middle one is off-center, but no, that's still pretty cool. And this is for the Crow Clan, or Warband, whichever way you want to call them. So that's pretty neat. I do like the fact they went the... Actually, I wasn't sure when I first read when they're like, oh, they're going to be indented like that. I didn't know exactly what they meant, because I was like, how do you indent a neoprene playmat? But yeah, that's a pretty cool way to do it. Now, again, that does also mean they're going to be careful when you're playing with them so you don't rip them holes open. But it's a neat way to also help just store all your stuff. So let's take a quick look at the rest of these, just to see what they all look like. If I can figure out how to open these packages. And I'm going to have to roll all these back up. So here we have the Bear Clan. So they got like their red on there. And they got their pictures. We have the Walrus Clan. And their symbol right there. Just probably technically that direction. All of that. They're on like an iceberg. We have all their little campfire summoning circle. Which is really neat. They kind of kept that stacked. Got a little spot down there for the crystals. Now, that'd be one thing that'd be interesting if they would have made 3D crystal tokens for them, or the shards. Here's our Wolf Clan. These guys hang out at the beach. They're kind of like the yellow, or they're like a yellow oranges color. We have our Deer Clan, which are the tan colors. And they're on a peninsula. And then finally, we have the Boar. They're in the forest. Of course, a little bit of water on the side. So yeah, those are really cool. If you're looking at getting upgrades, the playmats are really cool. The big giant playmat, the upgraded tokens. I don't know if they sell any of these individually separate through the Ludus Magnus Studios web store. Or if you have to buy them all, it's just one big giant box. But there, yeah, if you want to upgrade your game, like you're gonna already have this part of the playmat in every game. So like this portion here, it's nice to have, but again, I don't think it's a necessity. I believe this is where you put your trophy tokens, because it's not like there's a lot of on this aspect. If there's a lot of spot where you're like, oh, I'm confused on where to put my cards. I can definitely see if this didn't exist and they wanted you to have a playmat to put that down so you didn't have to try and remember. That would definitely be helpful. But it's kind of neat that we have it all together as one. Alright, I'm going to pause on my end for a sec while I roll these up or get these off the way, and then we'll start looking at all the new characters. Alright, so yeah, there it fits back in the play box, and then if I take the stretch goal box, which had all the figures in it, I could cram it back in the middle, like I'm going to have to like push it way down. So yeah, just kind of want to point that out, that it's not just going to fit in there. Your box will have some leg lift, of course. I don't know if I turn it, I don't know, I think direction matters in there. So you may just end up keeping it back in the other box that it came in, or you might roll it up and put it with other rolled up playmats you have. But we did kind of want to show that off. Alright, let's head into our brand new characters. So we're going to start with the big daddy of them all. We have Elfring. So this is Jukas. So again, if you've watched any of the other Ludus Magnus Studio games, the Nova Eictus Chronicles, which include the big ones are Start to Sing Tempor, time-wise, Nova Eictus Renaissance, Black Rose Wars, Rebirth, Revised, all the way through pretty much almost any game by the Ludus Magnus Studios company. They have an overarching storyline. Dungeonology's in there. Technically, even smaller stuff like Blood are in the storyline, even though they don't necessarily directly always connect or have as big of an impact. But yeah, so there's some really cool stuff in there. So Jukas is basically, he messed with Kronos, the god, got essentially now he's stuck time traveling back and forth through different eras. So when we got to the Viking time, he's trying to trick everyone or utilize everyone else, all these Viking clans, to get the Runar for him. That's the whole point of the game, is it's his manipulations. Now, here's one thing I think I would maybe, for this character, I would maybe house rule. Is so in the Jarl expansion, we had the 6 clan members that each had a special Jarl symbol, a little crown up here, and they're all riding on mounts. They're a little bit bigger figures, and there are special rules that work with them. The idea is they're supposed to be leaders of their specific clans. There's technically a 7th clan called the Northern Lodge, which are the ones that eventually formed the Black Rose Wars. They're in the Hell expansion, and Elfring is part of that because he set them up. I would be willing to house rule that he could be considered a Jarl if you're trying to do Jarl rules. Because there's special modes like Mercenary mode where you have to pick one character to use, or if you want to create a clan-specific thing. If you're not using Nemesis, or even if you are because they're blue, you could maybe always take these guys and put black bases on them instead. If you're like, but they don't have the diamonds. If you have Black Rose Wars, they have the little diamonds on those. You might be able to use some extra ones from that set. But I'd be like, yeah, well, like, these are like technically like a 7th clan you could almost have. I don't know if I'd add in a 7th player, because the board's not designed for that. But I might be like, hey, you could have a 7th clan that's the Northern clan instead. That's just my musings. So here's his miniature, by the way. Although he's all like hunched over, but he's got his giant bagel staff he always has. His other ones. Yeah, so he kind of just came in and portrayed me rather than trying to confuse them with technology and stuff, because obviously they're Viking era, so that's why there's a little bit of technology. Some of his bagel armor, he has his green arm. It was cursed by Gaia. So he's been cursed by Gaia. With a shard of Gaia, and he has stuck time traveling with Kronos' power, so he's pissed off a bunch of the gods. So very interesting there. Alright, so what are his abilities? Enough with the story stuff. He has, for a yellow skill, he has Blink. Place this hero on unoccupied node, so he can basically just teleport around the board. In his flip side, he has, when he is the active hero, all rival heroes cannot perform reactions. So, cool. Just to stop everybody. So he has, it's kind of interesting, he has 5, 5, 0, 5, and then 5. I think he's the first guy we've had that has no cubes of one color. We've had some that have had like 9 or 10 of one. But I usually have at least one of the other colors. So very interesting. He's also the only guy I think that has only yellow. I think all the other guys that had yellow had like a red or blue with it. So yeah, he has Blink, place on occupied space. He has Phasing. This hero swaps places with an adjacent model of a hero or rival. And then Time Travel. Draw the first hero card of your opponent's action deck. You gain that action. That's crazy. Interesting. I wonder how that specifically is. Now, there's not really a rule book. I mean, there's a little tiny rule book for this. I don't know where I put it. There it is. Stretchless. But I don't think there's any, like, explanation on how his specific ability works. No, just double checking. So, yeah, interesting how that works. So, it's like, I wonder if he just gets it for the activation turn, like it just replaces his ability, and then they get it back, I would assume. I don't think they get to keep it because he's not really doing damage to them. Let's look at his action deck. We have yellow, white, and blue, yellow, white, and blue, yellow, white, yellow, yellow, white, yellow. There's a lot of them actions. Some blues, some yellows, some blues, and yellows. So that's all he's got. So it means he has no movement abilities, but he doesn't really need it with his skill. As he gets his skill, he can go anywhere he wants. So there's really no reason for him to have a bunch of movement actions, but it also means he can't do regular movements until he draws one of them. So if you're not playing his card, half the time you're going to be able to move anywhere on the board. The other half, he's just going to kind of have to sit there. But that's what makes that a little bit, I think, balancing that out. Because unless you save cubes from other characters playing stuff, he doesn't get general movement abilities or pushing abilities. So he has to wait around. Interesting. Alright, up next we have Legend. We have Sigurd, or Sigurd. So he's one of our legendary characters. So he's supposed to be like, doesn't really belong to a faction at all. Kind of like a myth legend. So I don't know if he's just, if kind of like Elfram, he's going to be a little bit more overpowered to an extent. I think they still try to keep everyone pretty balanced, though. So he has, oops, we're on the wrong side. Let's look at this side first. His 3 movement. For a red skill, he has True Legend. For the duration of this turn, each time this hero would inflict damage, they inflict direct damage instead. So that's pretty nice. So every time he hits you, he can just ignore your shields. It's not too bad. And then if we go to the other side, he can't perform switch and defense actions. He has no shield when he deals damage. He gains a shield. So if he takes damage, he's fine just getting in there and taking the brunt of damage. But I like that he can't perform switching defense actions. So he doesn't care about, he's like, hit me, I don't care. And he's not going to swap out with somebody else. He's like, I'm going to be up in the front, I'm going to take it. His stats, his cubes are pretty much along the line. And then he also has True Legend again. But it says duration, inflict damage, and inflict direct damage. For the duration of his turn, models cannot perform reactions. So that just shuts off from them reacting back to him. So that's pretty cool. It's the first time I think we've had the same named ability with extra effects on it. But that's pretty cool. Again, makes him a little bit more powerful. But it's not like he gains any extra health or he's doing extra amount of damage. He just has to avoid shields. Someone could be like, well, that's awesome, but that's not necessarily any better or worse than somebody else's skill. He has 2 white cubes, a white and a blue, white and a green, white and a yellow, red with multicolors, and then just a blue, a green, and a yellow. It's very cool. Alright, our third hero up is Andromeda. So I'm sorry, I'm confusing myself. So Andromeda might sound familiar, too, for people that follow the Nova Electus Chronicles. She's been in a bunch of games as well. She was with Jukas on the original Genesis ship way back in Sin Tempor when it crash-landed. But she's an, I want to say android, but she's some sort of robot or synthetic alloyed being. So basically that's why she's been time traveling through games to game, where Jukas is actually time traveling. He's like literally disappearing and reappearing in different eras of time. Andromeda is basically just, since she's a non-living being, or non-organic living being, I'm not sure exactly what the definition would be, she is just existing from one time to the other. So when they crashed way back in the old Sin Tempor timeline, way back like when, and then they fought battles, and then then she survived here through the Viking era, and then she eventually gets to the Renaissance Europe for Nova Electus, and then through Black Rose War stuff. So I don't actually, she's not in Black Rose War. It's one of the few games she's not in, because she doesn't really have any magic abilities. But she's in, yeah, some of the others. She's even in Chambers of Wonder as like a ally card. Because yeah, she just exists. So in here she took the form of a Valkyrie. She kind of used some of her cybernetics. You can see she has to fly. She has rocket boots, and she just has like wings, just kind of like added onto her for aesthetics. But she's using her rocket boots to fly. She has her spear and shield. Uses the full mask armor to cover up her android features. So I think that's a really cool character, but it's also like a cool aesthetic for the world. So she has a Siri wings. So she place this on any occupied node. She's basically the same as his blink. So this places modeling any occupied thing. So they share the same ability for that reason. But hers is a flying thing, but she has shields and he doesn't, so that makes him a little bit different. She's a little bit faster. But it says when she would suffer direct damage, she suffers a regular wound instead. So basically she can't not... her shields can't be ignored. Her cubes are pretty much along the same line. And then she only has 4 yellow. But she has Aesir wings, you can place them on any occupied, and Aesir weapons. This inflicts direct damage on an adjacent model. So where Elfring can kind of bounce around the board and move around and stuff, she's going to be able to get into combat and take damage because she can afford to take some hits. And then when she does extra damage, she just ignores their shield. So she's a little bit more combat oriented. It's very cool. Her cards are, she has a wild with some blue and greens. A couple of those. She has her yellows are with her skills. And she has a strength yellow, a strength, and an instinct. Alright. Up next, we're going to look at the Wolf Clan. So these are kind of more nomadic characters. They're kind of joined together. I don't think they have as much of a... so the core characters and all the other sets kind of all like... They happen to be like, oh, this person's the son of this person, or the daughter of this person, or they married this person, or that person killed that person, and this. These are kind of like people that might have wandered out from the normal like Viking territory. They're now in here, and they joined this brand new wolf clan. It's, I think, the idea of this. So we're going to start with, and we are on the wrong side, we're at Ahmed. So yeah, he definitely looks like he's probably Middle Eastern. So he wandered from, maybe like India. So here is his little miniature. He's got some scrolls there he's holding. I'm not sure if something scribbled on the scrolls, but it could be a map. He's got his big giant scimitar. So instead of having, again, like all the regular big old Viking equipment, he has his desert type equipment. He has for a blue and red still, he has clarity. This model gains 3 yellow cubes. So he likes to use yellow cubes a lot. We'll see how he does with that. On the flip side, he can perform the attack action by spending a yellow cube once per turn. Yours or your opposing player, when he performs a defense, he gains a yellow cube. Once per turn, yours or an opposing player's, when he performs a defense. I don't know when you would do a defense on your turn, unless there's maybe the Nemesis phase, I guess, because technically that's part of your turn. So that could be. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. So he can attack using the yellows instead of blues. He has no blue cubes. Also very interesting to note, is without having green cubes like Afrin has, he just can't use movement actions or charge or push, but he doesn't have to worry about not being able to collect stuff. Not having blue cubes means he can't collect blue shards either, so that's going to be very interesting for him. For his red skill, he has clarity, just 3 yellow cubes, and for his blue, Wheel of Blades inflicts damage on each adjacent enemy model. So yeah, he wants to just get in there and beat some people down. So that's not bad at all. That's pretty cool. Very interesting, very different. White, yellow, white, yellow, white, yellow. Still blue, yellow, still blue, green. Red still, and then our green and yellows. Very neat. Alright, then the next member up in the Wolf Clan is we have Starkad. So I think he's just a wandering Viking. That doesn't necessarily just belong to any of the other clans. I'm pretty sure is what he is. So he's got this big giant axe. He's got a runic tablet of stone just strapped to his back. So maybe that's like his special stone for doing something, or maybe that's a punishment. Could also deal some lore that I just don't know about, which is definitely a very possible. But yeah, he has 2 movement. He has for a red or blue 3 lives. Add the card of this hero to your hand, taking it from a damage area or an inflicted area. So he has self-healing. We've had a couple other guys that could heal as well, but usually they're healing other people potentially. But he can just self-heal. On his flip side, he can equip up to 2 treasure cards. So that's pretty cool. He keeps his 3 lives and his vast wealth. Turn face up a face down treasure in your treasury. Take all treasure from your character and place them in your treasury. Then perform up to 4 equipped tactics. Dang! That's pretty cool. So not only can he have 2 things equipped, but he can reuse stuff over and over. So he has like the marks he can reuse over and over. If you get the expansion with the spells, he can reuse them over and over. Plus then he can also be swapping them around. So he could you could be like doing some attacks and getting a bonus from the attacks. And he's like, I'm done attacking, now I need to collect. And maybe swap and get something that gives him a bonus for collecting, or give him a bonus for defense for the next turn. Perform up to 4 equipped tactics. And equip, I think you could then also use that to equip them on other people as well. Because you can pull them off of other guys and kind of reset their stuff each turn too. So you can set up his next turn as well. That's pretty interesting. It's a different set of abilities. Which would really make him better as a campaign goes along. If you're playing a one-off match, unless you decide to just include a treasure in there, he's not as good. But during a campaign, he would just increasingly get better because you have more equipment available to you. So he's got blue skill with a white cube. Some double yellows, double blues. His red and greens. And then a triple yellow and a triple blue with both of them as their memory ones as well. That's pretty powerful. His vast wealth. So maybe he comes from some rich nation that I don't know about. Alright. Our last wolf member is Namid. So I would assume that if we assume they're all from different countries or different origins, she's probably maybe from America. She looks probably like she's a Native American. Which would have been connected to the Vikings at some point. So she has Hunting Trap. This element puts direct damage on any model that is adjacent to or on the same node as a danger. So yeah, she has to activate traps. There's one other guy that dealt with traps, but having another character deal with traps is really cool. I know that she has the bow and arrow, just for something different. That's one thing I will definitely say I love about this game is every single character looks and feels like a different character. Some have one axe, some have two axes, but they feel different. I say this in like comparison to something like maybe like Zombie Side, where every zombie side character can start to feel a lot the same after you get a bunch of expansions because like the Western ones always just felt like, oh, it's a guy with either a gun, a double gun, or a sword, and they all kind of felt very similar. Yes, you looked at them, comparing, they were different. But even like the alien ones, the space ones, they started to feel like armor guy, until you really got into like stretch goal characters, where then they started kind of going a little bit crazy. But that's that. Anywho, that's how, like, you have a bow and arrow guy, a big giant winged character, a guy with a hammer. So yeah, these guys all look very different. And then again, when they did the Yarrows as captains, they're all riding their animals, which made them all stand out. They could have just had them all been by themselves, and they might have kind of blended in with everybody else a little bit. Alright, so Namid's special abilities. She can target a enemy model within distance of 3 while performing her attack. So that's her bow and arrow. Hunting trap. This puts damage on them along the same zone. And then hunting field. Choose a zone orthogonal adjacent to the zone where this hero is located and contain at least one danger token. This hero can inflict a direct damage on each model in that zone you prefer. Nice. So she basically can blow up an entire area. And she doesn't even cost to actually get rid of that token, which would have made more sense if you had to remove the token as well. So that's pretty cool. So she's going to want to do a lot of the stuff where she gets to trigger with blues and push them damage tokens where they can be the most effective. So cool. What does her action deck look like? We have some reds, skills with some white and yellows, blues and greens mixed in there, and then just some blue skills by themselves. So a little bit different setup there. Alright, then we have one last hero in this set. And I saved him for the last because it's a guest character. So he doesn't really fit the aesthetics of the world. But we have the pennant one from the game, the video game and the board game, Blasphemous. So this is a video game, and then it's a very religious themed game, but not like there's lots of blood and gore, and the whole thing about the penitent one because they're suffering for sins. So it's very graphic. But they also made Ludus Mega Studios, who makes this game, also is making the board game for that. So they included this guy's kind of like a little nod to that, which is really cool. And this is like the main character you play as. So yeah, he has some unique abilities here as well. So again, he's going to look very different from everybody else. And he would probably come from, again, coming from maybe like a different country. We had like, maybe like, the India with Ahmed, or Named being North America. This guy probably come from like maybe like Rome. I believe that's like Rome, or in Europe is where Blasphemous would take place. So yeah, interesting. Alright, so then he has, for red or blue, Bleeding Miracle. This hero performs an attack on a model within 4 distance of him. So this lets him basically perform a giant ranged attack. If we flip to the other side, it says whenever he suffers a damage, regular or direct, gains a shield. Whenever he discards a shield, he gains a white cube. So if he takes damage or sacrifices one, he gains extra cubes for it. Keeps Bleeding Miracle, but also gains Holy Wrath. For the duration of his turn, each time this hero inflict damage, they inflict direct damage instead. So we've seen some of these are kind of similar to each other or to other characters that existed, and that's not even a bad thing. I don't know if there's anything wrong with they have 2 abilities that they share one that another character has, with some overlapping, because that kind of gives you the feel of like, I like this, but I have a little bit different flavor of it. Yeah, pretty interesting. He only has 1 yellow though, so maybe if he teamed up with Ahmed, they'd be able to produce a lot more yellow. So it has a red skill, the white cube, blue skill, another white cube, green, yellow, blue, green, blue, green, blue, green, red skill, blue, and blue with green. Alright, then the next thing we have some brand new artifact or treasury cards. The first two we want to look at are pets. So the Hell expansion, I believe it was, added pet cards in there. We had 6 pets. We're going to get 2 more in this one. The general idea, and there's rules in here on how pets work. But basically what happens with pets is if you have them in your treasury, when you're setting up the game, you're going to choose that, put it on top of the deck so you can use its activated ability. So whatever character on your turn is active gets this ability. And then what you do is they have 3 action cards, and you take 1 from each of your 3 characters and you replace them. So your characters now only technically have 9 health, but you have technically a 4th hero in your deck that gets extra abilities. So like if someone takes damage, you could discard one of these pet cards instead, and they take the damage, but now you no longer have access to that pet card. So they're kind of neat. And I like the fact, I wish there was more of these. I do actually wish they had one that directly represented each of the different clans, so you'd have more of a little bit more of one. You could be like, hey, this is the mascot for that clan. Or everyone could start with one if they wanted to. But there are 8 now, so you could at least have some little options to swap them around. So our first one we have here is Toto, who has I'm going to actually zoom in on these a little bit more since they have text. The active hero can perform the movement action by spending any color cube. So that's cool. And then they have their 3 cards, which are all going to be the same. So it activates for whichever hero, and they're going to gain a blue and a yellow. And on their memory side, they have a white and green. Then the other one we have is Nala. So when the active hero will inflict damage, they inflict direct damage instead. Which you just see on some of these other guys' abilities. This just gives that ability to them. And then we have the 3 cards for them, which give you a blue and green or a white. So are they like super crazy? No. Are they going to break the game? Absolutely not. You kind of have to give them to one of your characters, so they technically start 9 health instead of 10. But still really neat. I do wish we also had more, like some of the event cards, or some of the cards let you, not the event, I think the event cards. We have cards in the game that give out extra special abilities. I kind of wish some of these pets had them too, like, where they let you change, like, well, basically, like, what, this does, like, movement, spending any ability. They had some that just lets you do that, and it's really a fun idea. Alright, then we have some regular equipment cards. We have the Crystal Skull, which has Scries. So here, we have a brand new ability, and I love these. Well, the top 4 cards of your deck, put those at the top of your deck, and put each of those in either on top or bottom of your deck in any order. So, if you're going to Magic the Gathering, it's just scrying, lets you kind of look through your deck and stuff. Not too bad. And then we have Leonida's Shield, which I think is a double thing to talk, as a hint to the Leonidas from, like, Rome, Greek culture. Also, Leonidas from Dungeonology. So kind of would be a neat crossover. When this hero would suffer damage, they suffer, or direct damage, they suffer regular damage instead. It kind of helps protect them. And then we have a brand new mark. So I haven't seen a mark since the first one, but the mark of Durbagars. So this is a one-time use, then you have to flip it over. But it says this hero gains 2 cubes that are not white. So yeah, it's just a one-time just to gain 2 extra bonus cubes. Which is never a terribly bad thing to have either. Alright, so then the last thing we're going to look at is we have our 3 new enemies. We have our brand new enemy cards. So we have the Trooper level 2. We have the, hopefully I don't mess this up too bad, Dolkenfar. So yeah, we've had in the core set you fought some Jotuns. It's more regular ice beings. Here we have some different versions. In Hell, you fought some more Hell beings. So here we kind of have just some other different characters we might have to fight. I believe she kind of goes with the Jotuns a little bit. So she has, and we have 6 of these since they're the mid class. I think this is supposed to be more of like a dark elf, which would be from Slivenheim? I might be wrong on that. But yeah, we have Jotunheim being like where the Frost Giants are, and Midgard being Earth, where the game takes place. It's kind of a neat thing. It could also try and jump into the other different mythologies and stuff and have some of those guys coming. Just sort of what they're doing here. But her movement ability is she performs an attack action on each model or each hero in the zone she is, then she performs a reveal. And they only have 1 health, but then we have 2 copies of she can become adjacent to at least 1 hero of the leader by performing a movement. She can become adjacent to the most hero by performing movements within 5 movements. Adjacent to the most heroes of the leader by the movement points. She does, and each adjacent hero discards 1 shield. For each one of the actors, she performs an absorb in the zone she's in. Her second 2 cards, which are the same, if there is a shard in the zone she is in. If there is no shard in the zone she is in, she places the nearest shard in the zone she is in, then she performs absorb on the shard she is in, then performs push on each adjacent one. Otherwise, that's an interesting card. It says, so this is worded weird, because the red text is basically was if this happens, if there is a shard in her zone she is in, then she activates its ability. Otherwise, she has her movement. But then the next line says, if there's no shard, it's in the node she's in. Okay, if it's in the zone but not the node she's in, then she moves. She places an air shard in the node she is in, then she performs absorb. So basically, she's gonna whip that towards her. And then she pushes everyone else away. Gotcha. I was reading that so weird. And then the last 2 are a zone chain with at least 1 danger token in a free node. She places the nearest hero of the leader on the nearest zone, and the leader's whoever first player token it is. With a danger, and then she performs push on all others. So yeah, her whole thing is she's just gonna try and smack you down or push you away on your different stuff. A little bit mixture between ranged and ranged and long range and short range, which is kind of neat. Cool. So our next one is we have a leader, so he's got the 3 cost, so we only have 4 of him. Is we have Dervgar. So he has 3 hit points. He's going to be hard to take out, but he only has 1 attack power, so that's not too bad. So here we have a dwarf. So this would be one of the other races. So if like Hell is one of the race areas we could go to, and then the Dark Elves, and then the Jotuns, that's 4 of the different 9 realms. 4 of the 9 realms, because the 5th one would be Earth. So that's pretty cool. So we got some different stuff in there. It's 3 of the different realms, with Earth being the 4th one. But yeah, we have one of the dwarves from Nevelheim, if I'm right. He performs a movement action 4 towards the closest trap. Then if he's adjacent to or on the same node as the trap, he puts direct damage on each hero in the zone. Which makes sense. Typically in fantasy, elves like to play around with traps. Alright, so then his first 2 cards are going to be, if he can reach or become adjacent to a node containing a danger token by performing a movement with 3 movement points, he does, and then puts damage on each hero in the zone he is in. His next 2 are, if he's in a zone with at least 1 danger token, he performs an attack action on each hero in the zone he's in, then performs a trigger action on each adjacent danger. Oh, so then he pushes the tokens away. That's kind of cool. Little danger token theme. Then his last 2 is he has respawn. If no Divgars are on the battlefield, place 1 there using the Destiny discards. Then he puts damage on each hero that is adjacent to or in the same zone as a danger node and performs reveal. So that's kind of cool. And these guys kind of work in conjunction even like normally probably wouldn't, because she has the ability to kind of push them away as well, or push guys around. So pushing them away might push them into a danger token, or she could push a danger token. So it's kind of a neat little combination. Then our last enemy is we have a big boss. So it's also listed only as a 3-star just for game purposes. But we only get one of him. Does 3 damage. And does 3 health. So he's going to be hard to defeat. And this is Jenganger. So this guy is pretty big. He's a little bit bigger than everybody else. He's some sort of mutant monster, but it looks like he comes from the depths, because he's got like tentacles on, looks like a ship oar. Some ship was like a squid hanging off the top of his head. Some ropes and stuff, so it's like he came from like the depths of the ocean, the mast of a Viking ship. So we kind of look at him as comparison to like some of our regular guys. And then if we kind of compare these two in there as well. Dwarf's a little bit shorter than everybody. Makes sense. This guy's pretty big. He's not as, like 5-6 times bigger than everybody else, but he is a decent size bigger than everybody else, which is pretty cool. Now, you only have one of him. Now, if for some reason you were able to get hold of multiples of them, up to 3, you could potentially have more of these guys out. That is something that developers said could happen. But again, since they're so far only available in the chest box, I can't see why you would buy multiple copies of the chest box for one character. But if you want to like proxy your own cards, you can definitely do that. We don't get his ability. He inflicts damage on each model in the territory he's in, so he's just going to beat everybody regardless. His action cards are, we have 2. There's at least 2 heroes in the zone he is in. Each hero in the zone he discards a shield. He inflicts damage on each hero that cannot do so. His next 2 are, if there's at least 2 heroes in the zone he is in, each hero in the zone must discard 1 shield. If at least one of these heroes cannot do so, the nemesis gains a victory point. Ooh, that's interesting. And then his last 2 are, he has a respawn, and then he says he places himself in a free node of the zone with the most heroes. And each hero in the zone discards a shield, then he performs a reveal for each hero that cannot. So it's kind of different, because you have the other guys that are kind of like pushing guys around or activating nodes. We've had other ones that kind of like try and spawn their other little helpers, or move towards a shard and trying to absorb. He does not care about crystals at all. He doesn't care about, here at the end he's going to do some revealing, but he doesn't care about trying to get crystals. He's just up trying to like destroy all your shields, and then potentially just defeating you. So that's pretty interesting there. So this is back as new enemy, the troop rank of the Agile Dulfikar, and 2 enemies of the leader rank. He's a first member regardless of the number of players in the game. You can include it in the game even if you have a single model available. If you have multiple models of him, you supposedly can insert all of them in the direction of enemy given on page 41 of the core rulebook. And I think that's all we had for that. Just kind of mentioning that. What's that? I have that rule book right here. Just take a quick look and see what that says for that. So page 41. Oh yeah, just depending on the number of players, maximum number of enemies you can use. So it's basically saying like if you're playing a 4-player game, you'd normally have 4. So some enemies of the leader rank are represented by a unique model regardless of the number of players participating in the game. Enemy cards of this type must always be placed on the triple space of the nemesis board. If multiple models of this type of the enemy are available, you own multiple copies of their expansion. You can choose these as normal leader rank enemies. So cool. So it's basically just saying that if you have one of these bosses, because there's him, and then there's also the troll in one of the other expansions you could add in there as well. And then who knows, maybe in the future they'll add some more crossover characters or promos or things like that. But that is what we have for Runar. and the stretch goal box. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, some great new characters, 7 new characters to play as, which is really fun. If you're playing a 6-player game, each person can have 1 new character to try out. Some new enemies are always fun just for various things. The only other things I really wish would have happened, and I wasn't part of the campaign for this, unfortunately, so I don't know how close we were to getting more stuff, or if they kind of got to the end and that's what they planned. It would have been neat to have couple more spell cards would have been cool. More pets, obviously, some more equipment. Any of that stuff would have been neat. Also, would have been kind of also cool to have some extra, like, another full scenario would have been neat to have. Maybe something with using this big guy as a boss, this Gengar as one of the bosses, or utilizing one of the other 2 guys. Because every time we had the expansion with the other one, Hell, we had a scenario that involved them at some point. So it would have been cool if they would have had that as well, like a stretch goal scenario. Also, would have been cool to have like more layouts. Would have been kind of neat as well, or obstacles would have been cool. Another couple of things. Just more content would have been neat. But again, maybe in the future, if this game does really well, they might come out with some future expansion. It could be cool. So far, I don't think, except for Black Rose Wars, other than making 2.0s, they haven't really went back to any of their other games, but maybe that's something they're going to do in the future, which would be really cool. Again, you don't even need to make a ton of stuff. Just, here's a box with, like, a couple new characters, like, new heroes, new enemies, just a little bit of everything, you know? So that's what we have, though. See you guys later. Bye.